Hello, this is Dan for BladeReviews.com, back with another knife review. This time I've got an interesting offering from Kershaw. The Kershaw Needs Work. This knife, of course, features the Wharncliffe blade shape. And if you read the review, I talk a little bit about how I feel that this is an underappreciated blade type. You don't see a lot in the production knife world, or in the custom world for that matter, but I really enjoy this style of blade. It's just very practical, and for that reason I wanted to make sure that I reviewed this Needs Work, because it's one of my favorite production folders that has a Wharncliffe blade. So that said, let's get right into it. Let's talk real quick about what you might use this knife for. I'm classifying this mainly as a utility knife rather than an EDC, and the distinction might be kind of minor here, but I would say this is just a dedicated work knife. If you, say, install carpeting for a living, or do a lot of woodwork where you have to score items or notch things, or perhaps cut drywall, or do any kind of precision tasks on flat pieces of material, I really think that's what this knife is made for, and that's where it excels. As far as an everyday carry knife, it is a little bulky and kind of difficult to carry, so it doesn't really work for me, but it may work for you as an EDC. Let's talk real quick about the specs. It's got a 3-inch blade, a 4.5-inch handle, and a weight of 3.5 ounces, so it is carryable. A little on the thick side though, and for some that might be a bit of a turnoff. Let's talk a little bit more about this blade. As I said, it's a Wharncliffe blade shape. It's got absolutely no belly at all, just a flat blade, almost like a razor blade. And as you know, a razor blade or a box cutter can be very useful. And this is basically a 3-inch box cutter made of a high quality steel. This is Sandvik 14C28N stainless steel. Very nice. I've talked about it before in some of my other Kershaw reviews, but a good all-around steel. And it has a very slight swedge here, and it terminates with a very delicate tip. As you can see, it's got relatively thick blade stock for a smaller knife, but it's got a very fine tip. And that's what I really love about this knife, is the tip, because it gives you a lot of control and really allows you to do some detailed tasks, and very easily, especially given the ergonomics and the way this knife naturally points down. With a more conventional blade shape, the tip is somewhere up here, so you're going to have to rotate the knife more, and it just makes it a much more difficult task. So I really like this. Very functional. It's got a hollow grind, and it's been given this kind of gray finish that's common on a lot of Kershaw knives. Very nice, wears well, looks great. The handle is made of fiberglass reinforced nylon, and it's over solid stainless steel liners, full liners. And as you can see here, the handle material has been given this kind of interesting, I called it an almost alien looking pattern. It's definitely not for everyone. It took a little time for it to grow on me, but I actually really like the looks of this knife. It's just super cool. And the handle pattern, not my first choice, but it does offer some decent grip, and it's really not that bad. So just a little different. It's cool. It's cool for me. As you can see here, this has got a full back spacer, and as I mentioned, the liners are not milled out, so those might be minor issues for some. Really, the knife is pretty good regardless of that. So my main complaint here with the knife is the pocket clip, and my first problem is the fact that it is tip down right hand carry only. There's no other place to mount it. And the other thing is, it's just a big and kind of ugly looking clip. It rides high in the pocket. It's not ideal in my mind. And when you combine the fact that it's got this kind of funky clip with the thick handle, it just doesn't make a very easy knife to carry. I will say that the flipper kind of balances things out a little bit. You know, I am left-handed, so you would think this would be a major problem for me, but I found I was still able to carry the knife and deploy it without too much issue. If I was looking for an emergency tactical knife or something, I think it would make a big difference, and this would be a real negative. But for a work knife, not the end of the world. And I know some people just take the clip off, so you know, it's whatever you want to do. Let's talk real quick about the ergonomics. As you can see, we've got some jimping on the top here. It's nice, and a little jimping on the choil there, and there is a nice choil. I noticed that this is really a 3-finger handle for me. I've got bigger hands, and I can squeeze 4 fingers on here, but naturally I find it's more comfortable for me to use this with 3 fingers. So just something I noted. Not necessarily a negative, but I do prefer 4-finger grips, I guess. The angled nature of this handle is awesome for doing those kinds of cuts I was talking about before, those precise cuts involving the tip here. This natural angle just accentuates the usefulness of the Wharncliffe blade and makes this thing like a laser. You know, you can just cut like really precise cuts with this across flat materials, and I just love that. And few knives can deliver that kind of performance, so this Needs Work really stands apart from the pack. If you need a utility knife like that, I really think it's going to be hard to find much else in the production knife world that matches it. Let's talk about one of my favorite features, and that is the great lockup and deployment. As you can see here, it is a flipper knife only. There's no thumb studs, and it's got that speed safe opening, which means it's really fast, and it's got a very crisp lockup that I really like. It's just a liner lock, but there is no up and down or side to side blade play. It's kind of an interesting locking mechanism because there's no stop pin here, and there's no thumb studs that act as integral stop pins. It's actually designed so that the tang of the blade comes in contact in 2 different places on the liner lock. So very interesting and also very secure. I do like that. And that speed assist is just wicked fast. So I love the lockup and I love the great deployment. All in all, this is an awesome knife. I just want to mention too that this is made in the USA, and I picked up mine for right around $30 to $35. Very reasonable considering that you get such a practical blade shape, and everything's very well put together. The knife feels solid. Mine came with an awesome dead center blade, just blazing fast. The pocket clip, yeah, you know, I'm going to knock it for that, but besides that, I think this is just a great knife, and it's one of my favorites with this kind of cool Wharncliffe blade shape. So definitely check this one out if you haven't, and if you're thinking about buying this knife, I can totally recommend it. So guys, thanks so much for watching. This is Dan for BladeReviews.com. I'll be back soon with another knife review. Bye-bye.